being asked, do I believe in New Kazakhstan? I am saying that I believe in people who work hard to make New Kazakhstan possible. I rely on us. I believe in this generation who pursue change. That is what we call New Kazakhstan.
Очень хорошо, если в стране существуют лидеры, будь то мужчины или женщины.
It is very good that there are leaders in the country, whether they are men or women, leaders of political life. Leadership shouldn't be associated only with men. I used to be very socially active in the kindergarten at school. I never refused any work, like working at a factory or gathering potatoes in the fields. I always tried to be ahead of others, being active at school and at the university. I attend sports clubs and literally circles. That is a desire to be as useful as possible, to be the best. Yes, it has been with me since childhood. I never remember myself being passive.
Быть лучшей, то есть это с детства. Никогда себя не помню в пассивной позиции.
It was quite obvious that she was one of the talented children. She was unique, but the main thing is that she was good at different subjects. We teachers used to compete with each other for her, because she was able to succeed in any event or project.
Чтобы заполучить ее, потому что участие Динары в любом мероприятии, проекте, это был залог успеха.
I took part in a literary circle. We always performed at school, stage plays, and so on. I read poems. Even my mom says that she remembers me as a child always holding a book. We had a house. I used to climb into the attic. I even remember the smell of the attic. You sit with a book, spread homemade sour cream on bread, and this is probably one of the warmest and happiest memories from childhood.
When she was a child, I looked at her and I was impressed by her qualities. I saw that she was so strong-willed and she never cried. I liked it. That's really a man's character.
I remember those times when my mother and father used to work for 12 or 16 hours. Me with my sister didn't see them. Once I invited my friends for my birthday. There were tea and candies on the table. However, there was nothing else. There were such moments when, well, I can probably talk about it because a huge number of people know how it was. We were selling fish with my sister. We fried seeds in the village. We were selling apples. It was basic desire to live better, not to experience hunger anymore. And this probably helped shape me as a person and forced me to develop. I didn't want to live as we lived before. I wanted to live in a different way.
Наверное, помогло сформировать меня как личность и заставлять развиваться.
One day we were driving home with her in the evening and saw a herd of horses on our way. And I said, I wish those herd of horses were mine. At that time she was 16, 17 years old, and she said, Dad, this is your mentality. It is killing you. Don't say, I wish it were. We must firmly set a goal that this is my herd, this is my apartment, this is my car, and then everything will be fine. And even she was a child herself, she explained to me how it should be. These qualities were already developed when she was a child.
You know, we are teachers. Sometimes to smooth out the bitterness of defeat, we tell children, well, okay, the main thing is not victory, but participation. This option has never been acceptable to her because she has always been focused on results. So leadership abilities are, of course, a vivid indicator of her in any direction. I never planned to work at a factory. I never wanted to be a manufacturer. It is very difficult for a financier without a basic technical education to try to understand all this. I went to the manufactories, but people there really kicked me out saying, listen, what are you doing here? Go away, we need to work. But I kept going on, and next day and on the other day too. I was sitting all the time. They were standing. I was writing something down on a notebook. look. At that time, I wasn't wearing shoes anymore. There was very noisy. Someone shouting. It was like, "Hey, Mihalich, bring the tools. Why are you just standing there?" We came and saw that harvester is huge. I was standing and thinking how to approach it in front or behind. Then I came home and said, "No, Dinara, even if you don't stay here to work, now you have to prove that you can. Yes, this is an exam, this is a test. Probably the whole life is a series of certain tests." I got involved, and probably after 2 years, I could not imagine life without this plant. So the plant, it became home for me.
Уже через года два я себе не представляла жизнь без этого завода.
Then there was no car service thing as now. When you go and hand it over the car and that's it. We did everything with our own hands, and Dinara was constantly around me, and I kept saying to her, "Give me an open-end wrench, a screwdriver, not this one, not that one." And she somehow understood everything from half a word.
Папа поддержал.
Dad supported me. Mom said, "No, we paid for your education for 4 years. You're a financier. Go to the bank and work," she said. Mom really wanted me to work in a bank. She had just some kind of such a dream.
Мечта.
So that I'm in a white blouse, she probably thought that I would start giving loans to all my relatives without interest. I don't know, but she had a dream that I would work in a bank. Dad used to say that at first, "It's hard. Do you understand how hard it is?" I say, "I understand." He says, "Well, try it."
лет это
10 years is a lifetime, and it's a job without days off and vacation. You go to work at this factory every day, and at the factory, it's not like in the office. Like you can't come in the morning, drink tea, then start your working day like that, as something happens at the factory every minute. And I want to say that working at this plant has shaped me as a person, developed in me such qualities that in general help me a lot in life.
по жизни помогает мне очень сильно.
Я считаю, ее история – это история вот
I think her story is the story of a self-made person, because it's not so easy to grow from a simple manager to the head of an enterprise during 11 years.
просто вот
Well, there are lots of factors that affect it, both purposefulness
знание финансов.
and knowledge of finance, and a person constantly has been working on himself. After all, there was the main thing, the main understanding that the company has prospects, and today we have a whole success story there, including localization, when we do not just bring components from abroad, but when we already begin to produce a significant part at
Да,
home.
уже начинаем там существенную часть производить там у себя.
Строительство локализации.
Construction of a sewage center. This is almost 36,000 squares. I understand absolutely nothing about the construction at that time. There was a pandemic. We could not even hire workers. Remember, they needed permission to move freely. And we had a construction site. We had deadlines. We had equipment coming, and we needed workshops where this equipment could be installed, because it was boxes. It was purchased on lease, and it came. We already paid for it, and it was practically not installed. It was very difficult, and it was so difficult that I probably even sometimes left the factory. Sat right on the curb near the factory, and you know when you're sitting, you don't have a single thought in your head. You're so devastated. It was like that then. It was hard.
Ни одной мысли в голове, настолько ты опустошен. Вот тогда такое было, да, это было тяжело. Приходили строители, я вообще не понимала.
When builders came, I didn't understand at all what they were talking about, why exactly this concrete was used, how to transport it, what a cannon is. But I want to tell you that it's like an MBA. They just say 2 years of an MBA, and you have an MBA on construction every day here. Construction is an area where you even have to talk to constructors in a different way. You just can't show soft power. Everything is very stuffed there. Therefore, it was a very tight deadline, and you had to build a localization center, bring equipment, and start producing products. I want to say that probably after this project, I'm not afraid of anything. When I approach this plant, when I visit Qazaqstan, I see this huge plant with a large number of machines, where about 2,500 people work. I say I did it. It's cool.
Человек, ты понимаешь, черт, я это сделал. Это круто. Очень часто об этом говорили, что бы мы могли сделать. Очень часто говорили, что...
It is often said about what we would do. They say that representatives of state structures communicate with us, but not always. Sometimes this communication was just formality. They listened to you, but then they did it their way. And you think, what? We have discussed that. And then one day we were discussing it, and there was one person who helped us with building production processes. He said, "Why are you sitting? Go and do that. You are sitting here and complaining about what's wrong here, what's wrong there, so go there and do something." We said, "They won't let us in." He says, "Well, then don't complain." From the first steps, it was a complete failure because we couldn't even be registered. And then we're like, we're the coolest systemic businessmen. Why we can't do it? On the third attempt, we managed to do that. And we started taking part in the electoral race. Now, we're probably here to answer our own question, what can we give? What we can change, and can we really do something? That's why we came here.
Свой же вопрос, что мы можем дать, что мы можем изменить, и можем ли мы действительно что-то сделать. Вот за этим мы сюда пришли.
Когда увидел в списке в новой партии Динару, у меня первое было недоумение.
When I saw Dinara's name on the list of the representatives of a new party, and at first that causes confusion, well, because she had just become a director. She still has to work and work. She just stepped the peak of her career in production, and of course, the first thought I had was, look, why do you need all this stuff? But on the other hand, I can't help but be pleased when people in parliament, as they say, came directly from a live business. People like Dinara, with production experience, with a certain charisma, with live attitudes, of course, they're welcomed, because, well, as they say, business is never satisfied with state laws, and, well, then let's give them a chance to try and make your contribution. And, of course, there is a certain hope for such people in parliament. It is very interesting to work with them.
И, в общем-то, интересная работа.
Она всегда была среди тех, скажем, толковых.
She has always been among smart guys who always try to help. For example, to explain someone some missing information in science, and she thought it's her duty to help. She can't stay stand if something is wrong with someone, and so she would definitely be there where help was needed.
Обязательно будет там, где нужна помощь.
Шукижанова Динара Амангелдіқызы.
Қазақстан халқына адал қызмет етуге, Қазақстан Республикасының тұтастығы мен тәуелсіздігінің нығайтуға, оның конституциясын мен заңдарына қатаң бағынуға, депутаттың өзіме жүктелген мәртебелі міндеттерін адал атқаруға ант етемін.
Things are different in parliament. There is a spectrum of opinions. There are a lot of people and so on. You can't solve problems immediately, as in a workplace. If there are problems, she could solve in a short time, and things can be improved, and like that. Of course, he is different. That's exactly what I said when she came. Well, you understand that everything is much more complicated here. Only desire is not enough, but nevertheless, I believe that there is everything to realize all this.
People told us about our work. A huge number of amendments were adopted thanks to our party. If we talk about narcotic substances, a comprehensive plan was later adopted to combat drug addiction, synthetics, and other things. And as part of this comprehensive plan, a number of activities and, most importantly, financing of this or other activities were done. Of course, I will not take all credits for our party, because all parties have talked about it and many public figures have talked about it. But I believe that party has done huge work regarding that issue.
Наш депутатский запрос связан с острой необходимостью принятия мер по противодействию распространению синтетических наркотиков в Республике Казахстан. Это явление, порождающее горе и разрушение, несет угрозу не только для наших молодых людей, но и для нашего общества и государства в целом. Это яд, который быстро и беспощадно разрушает их жизни, оставляя нас, их родных и близких, с бессилием и отчаянием.
We have offered amendments to ban advertising of gambling in public places, to limit people who have debt overburden from being able to play. If you have a huge number of credits and you continue to take out a loan and play further, then there is no place to fall below. A huge number of amendments in the field of agriculture, a huge number of amendments in the field of industry. Unfortunately, this is such a very hard work.
Стоит признать, что это такая очень длинная работа.
You may make mistakes doing business, but here you can't, because the lives of a large number of people depend on the amendment of law.
Большого количества людей.
Ну, честно, не очень.
Well, to tell the truth, I didn't want her to be there. I started discouraging her. You know, it's such a responsibility. I know that she will cope with many things, but somehow it seemed to me that there you need to be a little flexible because she has such a tough character. I worry about that, to be honest. The whole country will observe. Although she has managed the plant, all this is not totally new to her. But as a father, I'll tell you, it was a little scary for me.
Я скажу, мне это было немножко страшно.
Он меня долго отговаривал.
He has persuaded me for a long time. He said that you don't need to do this. Don't go. You'll break yourself. This is something that is not related to you. I said, Dad, I want to try. I know that something needs to change the way it is happening now. Who will do that if not us? Then what is all this for? If I come to the factory, I will live according to the rules of the laws that are adopted in Kazakhstan. I have to do something for this and can show other businessmen that there is an opportunity to change something now. He still gets nervous when I speak. He worries very much. He sends the link of my interviews to me, sends video clips from Instagram and says in a fatherly way, when you come home, wash your face with the salt water. And it's very supportive.
По-отечески всегда говорит придешь домой, там соленой водой умойся, вот так, знаете, и это очень, конечно, поддерживает. Правительству следует занять более жесткую позицию в отношении политики Нацбанка в вопросах кредитования предпринимательства. Фактически драконовские меры не сдерживают инфляцию, но сдерживают развитие национального бизнеса.
Когда мы смотрим иногда на экран телевизора, на заседание правительства или когда...
When we sometimes look at the TV screen, watching a government meeting or a forum held with the participation of the president, pay attention to how the audience looks. We see men wearing official blue, gray, and black suits. This is not because our women do not participate in public life or women are not employed in the labor market. No, this is because when we go vertically, we are already observing this inequality, and to some extent we can talk about certain discrimination against women, not believing in their capabilities, and infringement, ultimately violation of their rights.
Дискриминации по отношению к женщинам, не веря в их возможности и ущемление, в конечном итоге, ущемление их прав.
В обществе, к сожалению, до сих пор
Unfortunately, such mistrust exists in society still, and this still undermines the faith of women that they can and they deserve it. It seems to me that we need to set more examples, even if at least one girl from a rural school, a rural area, after looking at my path, will stand up and say, I also want this, then everything I do is not in vain. Perhaps we need to talk more about this. We women need to talk more about this, show by example that yes, it is difficult to break through this glass ceiling, and the most important thing is to support each other.
Показывать своим примером, что да, это сложно, но пробивать этот стеклянный потолок и самое важное, наверное, поддерживать друг друга. Я не буду
I'm not going to tell you stories about what a great mom I am, a great specialist, a great wife, and other things. No, this is a titanic word. This is tough time management. When they tell me you don't spend much time with your daughter, I say probably it's not the amount of time that matters, but the quality of time. I see lots of moms who came to the playground with their children but are sitting and looking at their phones only, and the child himself is running around. I don't do that. If I come to the playground, I play with the child, and I spend an hour with the child. We even have a rule, it is mom's time. I say also, it's mom's time, right? And she says yes, and I put the phone down, and for exactly an hour I do whatever she wants. We read, we play, we cook. But this hour of time was spent very efficiently. I spent it with her. And this time management allows you to link all these areas, otherwise it would be disaster. This letter was written 20 years ago, on May 2004. Dinara is here. It was the last literature lesson. The guys had the opportunity to share their thoughts and wish something to their classmates as they were about to step on the threshold of adulthood. And yesterday, flipping through it all again, I drew attention to her thoughts like this. I want to wish myself in this life the most important thing is not to lose a person in myself. And saying that, she wished to all her classmates, she said, no matter what, they need to remain human in any situation. This is the most important thing.
По-моему, это самое главное.